The biggest scandal that happened at your school. During my junior year, our popular history teacher, Mr. Lawson, vanished overnight. One day, he was passionately explaining the causes of World War I, and the next, his classroom was locked. The school announced that he had taken a sudden personal leave, but they offered no further details. No goodbye, no explanation. A week later, we got a long-term substitute, Miss Parker, who clearly had no idea what she was doing. She barely followed the curriculum, often getting dates and events wrong, and after a while, she just gave up. Most days, she'd show us documentaries that had nothing to do with history, random things like Forrest Gump or Apollo 13. When we asked about Mr. Lawson, she would stiffen and mumble, "He's fine. Let's move on." Rumors spread like wildfire. Some students said he'd had a mental breakdown. Others whispered that he was in witness protection. The wildest version? That he'd been caught running an underground gambling ring with students. No one knew what to believe, but we all agreed, whatever happened, it was something big. Then, one afternoon, Emily, a girl in my class whose dad was a local police officer, came into the cafeteria looking pale. She pulled out her phone and whispered, "You guys won't believe this." On her screen was a local news article. Mr. Lawson had been arrested. The charge? Identity theft. For nearly 20 years, he had been living under a stolen identity, using the credentials of a real history teacher who had passed away years earlier. He never actually had a teaching degree. No college diploma, no credentials. Everything about his qualifications had been fake. Apparently, the district only found out when the real teacher's family noticed his name in an alumni newsletter, except that their relative had been dead for years. They reported it, an investigation followed, and soon after, Mr. Lawson was exposed. The school tried to control the fallout, but it was too late. Parents were furious. The district was flooded with complaints. News vans started camping outside our school, and reporters tried to interview students in the parking lot. Every assembly became a PR disaster as administrators fumbled through damage control. But the biggest shock came during his trial. To everyone's surprise, Mr. Lawson didn't try to deny it. Instead, he explained why he had done it. He claimed that in his 20s, he had wanted to be a teacher more than anything, but after failing to complete his degree due to financial struggles, he had taken a desperate route. He'd come across the credentials of a deceased educator and, in a moment of panic, assumed his identity to land his first teaching job. Once he was in, no one ever questioned him. Year after year, he kept up the act, convincing himself that as long as he was doing good, the lie didn't matter. Hearing that in court broke something in a lot of us. This was the teacher who had inspired so many of us to love history, who had stayed after school to help struggling students, who had encouraged us to think critically and ask questions. He was one of the few teachers who made us feel like we mattered, and it had all been built on a lie. The man who taught us about integrity had spent his entire career living a double life.